It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, August 18th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds today. Just a beautiful day on the way. The high going to be 76. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 66. And then Tuesday, sunshine, high 77. And if you look ahead for the next week, you start to see that it goes from summer temperatures, not to fall just yet, but like, those late August temps where it doesn't get much above 80. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it is 62 and partly cloudy in Muncie up in Rockland County, 68 and partly cloudy in Westfield over in New Jersey, and it's 67 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
It was a really violent weekend in the city. President Trump will try to hammer out an end to the war in Ukraine at the White House. Democrats start to line up behind Zohran Mamdani. The water's back on in Haledon, New Jersey, but the pressure's not. A makeshift water park in Washington Heights is a total hit. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. It was an incredibly violent weekend in the city. Like, if I were to go through every single shooting, that could be the entire hour. But we'll start with what was this mass shooting that took place at a Brooklyn nightclub around 3:30 a.m. Sunday morning. 3 people killed, 9 people taken to the hospitals. Victims range in age from 19 to 61. The 19-year-old man, as well as 2 men, 27 and 35, they all passed away. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch says investigators believe up to 4 people fired guns into this nightclub. 42 shell casings were recovered at the scene. A gun was recovered nearby. So far, they have not found the gunman. The shooting appears to be gang-related, and some of the victims involved in the shooting may have been gang members. But it was a long, early night or early Sunday morning into Sunday. Following the second mass shooting, of course, we had that Park Avenue mass shooting where 4 were killed. Mayor Adams held a press conference along with the police commissioner to detail the shooting and talk about the violence. Here he was yesterday.
We, unfortunately, will have to mobilize a mass shooting plan.
In this latest incident at the Taste of City, which is a private lounge, a hookah lounge in Crown Heights, those 12 were shot at. Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner, says she believes this tragedy is gang-related. And, of course, they continue to search for these gunmen.
We have identified 12 victims ranging in age from 19 to 61, 9 males and 3 females. Our crime scene investigators have now recovered 42 shell casings from multiple guns. The shell casings appear to be from 9mm and .45 caliber weapons.
The NYPD, the mayor, all asking for the public's help identifying these gunmen.
If you witnessed the event or if you have information, please call Crime Stoppers. Gun violence of this magnitude, it really scars a community and a city.
Yeah, now that wasn't the only shooting. So an off-duty NYPD cop shot and killed a 30-year-old man who had drove his weapon on him. So this was one of these moped crimes we've been talking about, really going back to maybe last fall, especially in the Bronx, where you have these people riding up on mopeds on people who have cell phones or staring at their cell phone or are carrying a purse, and they grab it and then drive away. That may have been what was going to happen here, but what they didn't realize, these moped riders, is they had rode up on somebody who was an off-duty cop. So this was in Washington Heights yesterday. The off-duty cop was standing outside a residential building, West 73rd and Amsterdam Avenue. This was about 9:45 last night, when he was ambushed by these 2 men on 2 separate mopeds. The 30-year-old hopped off his bike and asked the officer if he knew some individual's name, and then he whipped out this firearm. Well, the cop drew his own gun, and he fired multiple rounds at this individual. He was shot dead. The second person on the moped was able to get away. Police are still looking for him. The good news here is the off-duty cop is going to be okay. He's being treated for non-life-threatening injuries that the police did not identify, but he's going to be okay. We do not know who the person on the moped is just yet. I imagine we'll get his name and more information about him as the morning wears on. All right, 5:05, enough violence. Oh, my God, really? MTA leaders. Oh, today's the beginning of the U.S. Open. Let's talk about something happy. U.S. Open begins today. About 800,000 people are expected to head out to the Billie Jean King Stadium area to watch the preliminary rounds into next week when it really gets underway. But a lot of people go this week because it's free. If you didn't know that, it's free almost, I think, right up till Friday. And it's so much fun to watch these matches because it's all these up-and-coming players, and they're really good. So MTA leaders urging you to take mass transit. I mean, you'd be an idiot to get in a car this week and try to get out there.
We're happy today again to celebrate the return of the U.S. Open. And mass transit, as we express every year, it's the best way to go to see the matches and the game.
Yeah, so the MTA will be increasing service on the 7 line and the LIRR on all match days to accommodate, which no doubt will be large crowds. An MTA police officer accidentally shot himself inside Grand Central Terminal yesterday. The transit police say the officer was alone in a back room cleaning his service weapon when it accidentally discharged. The round struck him in the leg. He was taken to Bellevue Hospital where doctors are treating him. They say the injury non-life-threatening. The MTA Police Department's Internal Affairs Division is now investigating. Yesterday, in Queens, it was the second day of a wake for 25-year-old Kevin Mars. He was the Queens man who was killed while on vacation in Puerto Rico last weekend. He and his girlfriend had gone there for a Bad Bunny concert. And after the show was over, he went out to a nightclub, which he may not have known, was known for a lot of violence. Gunmen opened fire inside that nightclub, shot and killed him. Now, he was not the target of the gunfire, and they've arrested the gunman. Yesterday, family gathered for his wake.
We are all devastated. It's a big tragedy for all of us. Big loss. He was starting his life 25 years old.
Yeah, loved ones remembering Kevin Mara's kindness, his commitment to his girlfriend, who he had planned to propose to pretty soon.
We are all devastated. It's a big tragedy for all of us. Big loss. He was starting his life 25 years old.
Yeah, Mars leaves behind his parents, a 15-year-old brother, and countless friends and family. His funeral mass is a little bit later today, this morning, in Queens. WABC News Time 5:09. Hurricane Aaron is continuing to batter the Caribbean.
The first hurricane of the 2025 Atlantic season has been fluctuating in intensity and is now back to a Category 4 storm. It knocked out power Sunday to tens of thousands of people across Puerto Rico. As of midnight on the East Coast, Aaron was about 130 miles from Grand Turk Island with top winds near 130 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center says the storm is expected to remain a major hurricane, which is likely to bring life-threatening surf and rip currents to the East Coast during the week. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Hurricane Aaron will bring some unsettled waters to right off our shores this week.
The warning comes after 2 swimmers died along the Jersey shore just last week. The massive hurricane is expected to stay well offshore, but its winds will bring dangerous surf to the Jersey shore and Long Island. Lifeguards are reminding swimmers to swim parallel to the shore if they get stuck in a rip current and to only swim when lifeguards are on duty.
Now, it's been a terrible summer for drownings across the tri-state. So one New Jersey shore town is now banning night swimming, which, of course, has its own dangers. It's now illegal in one Jersey shore town.
Following a riptide death last week and a dramatic jet ski rescue, Seaside Heights will now be giving out tickets if you're caught in the water after hours. The death last week occurred after lifeguards left for the day. The town is increasing police presence to help crack down, and Mayor Anthony Vaz says if people get really arrogant with the police, they'll go from swimming on the coast to sitting in cuffs. Other beach beaches across the country have been rolling out similar measures. So far this year, over 50 people have died due to rip currents. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:11. Let's go down to Washington, D.C. European leaders will be joining Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House later today to discuss ending the war in Russia. The offices for the German Chancellor, the European Commission President, the Prime Minister of the UK, all confirmed to be part of this meeting with President Trump to go over America's new approach to ending the conflict. Of course, it comes after this summit that took place in Alaska on Friday. President Trump calling the summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin productive.
I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting.
So that call already took place.
We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant.
All right, so it sounds promising. Russian President Vladimir Putin, talking through a translator, says things were okay during these meetings.
Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that.
Okay, so then over the weekend, everybody responding to that press conference, including Ukrainian President Zelensky, who says a ceasefire is a necessary step towards reaching a peace deal with Russia.
It's impossible to do this under the pressure of weapons. So it's necessary to cease fire and work quickly on a final deal.
Okay, so what are the concessions? Who's going to have to give up what to make this happen? Well, over the weekend, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Trump and Russian President Putin agreed to what he called robust security guarantees for Ukraine. Now, Witkoff was part of these meetings.
We got to an agreement that the United States and other European nations could effectively offer Article 5-like language to cover a security guarantee. Everything is going to be about what the Ukrainians can live with. But assuming they could, we were able to win the following concession: that the United States could offer Article 5-like protection.
The White House putting all their big guns out on the news shows over the weekend. They want to get this deal done. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says while a ceasefire is still an option for Russia and Ukraine, the focus remains on a peace deal that ends the war.
I mean, who would be against the fact if tomorrow we came to you and said we have a full peace deal and it's done? I think that's the best way to end the war. Now, whether there needs to be a ceasefire on the way there, well, we've advocated for that. Unfortunately, the Russians, as of now, have not agreed to that.
And Rubio says more sanctions on Russia aren't necessarily the answer here.
But there is no evidence that more sanctions, because sanctions take months and sometimes years to bite. And we may very well wind up in that place. I hope not, because that means that peace talks failed. But we have to give every opportunity for peace a chance.
Ukrainian community here in New York responding to the summit in Alaska, and people, they're nervous, but they're excited that this thing might be over.
The lack of results from the summit, the prospect that there may be some concessions demanded of Ukraine without any concessions or demands made of Russia, concerns us greatly.
Yeah, okay, so they were worried about any deal. And then a longtime nemesis of the president says she'll nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize if he can bring an end to the Russia-Ukraine war, being former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
If he could bring about the end to this terrible war without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory, if President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, she said she'd forward the nomination only if Ukraine doesn't have to surrender any of its land to Russia in any deal. All right, in a moment, we'll go to the Middle East, where there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of progress there. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Monday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Monday. Good morning to you, Noam Laden. We will start here with the NFL out at MetLife Stadium on Saturday night. Jackson Dart shined in his new home stadium debut for the Giants, getting snaps with the first-team offense and throwing throwing for a touchdown and running for another with the backups as part of a 31-12 victory against the Jets on Saturday night. In each team's second preseason game, the rookie first-round pick whom the Giants envision as their long-term franchise quarterback got a chance to show a little bit of how he could contribute in the near future by subbing in for starter Russell Wilson mid-drive and connecting with Theo Johnson on a 30-yard pass. Dart capped a 71-yard second-half opening drive with a TD throw to Greg Dulcich and scored on a goal line sneak to finish another after completing 13 consecutive passes. He was 14 of 16 for 137 yards, delivering on the hype under the lights at MetLife Stadium before giving way to Jameis Winston. Wide receiver Malik Neighbors was held out of Saturday night's win with what multiple sources have called a minor back problem. He has missed each of the Giants' first two preseason games. Giants only have one full practice this weekend. It's scheduled for tomorrow. They will have a walkthrough today and play their final preseason game Thursday night at MetLife Stadium against the New England Patriots. So, although Neighbors could be back soon, it might not be this week given the tight schedule and quick turnaround. Might not see him until week 1. And while the Giants got clicking, questions remain on offense for Justin Fields and the Jets. He left after two run-heavy series, 1 of 5 for 4 yards with Nick Folk's 38-yard field goal. The only points the starters got on the board. Fields and the Jets' passing offense have mostly struggled to produce consistently in training camp, but head coach Aaron Glenn has insisted that Fields is developing nicely and doing all that he has been asked of him. To the MLB now in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Mark Vientos hit a 3-run homer to the light of hundreds of cheering 12-year-olds and sent the Mets to a 7-3 win over the Seattle Mariners in the Major League Baseball Little League Classic. Seattle catcher Cal Raleigh boosted his Major League home run lead with his 47th of the season in the 7th inning. Vientos hit a sac fly off Mariners starter George Kirby in a 3-run second inning. He hit his 8th homer of the year in the 5th to make it 6-1. Francisco Lindor added an RBI double later in the inning. Clay Holmes allowed 1 run in 5 innings for the win. The Mets failed to blow a lead for just the second time in the last 9 games, taking 2 of 3 from Seattle over the weekend. Up next for the Mets, still 5 games back of Philly for first place in the division and a game and a half up on Cincinnati for the third and final NL wildcard spot on off day today before opening up a 3-game series at Washington tomorrow night. And in St. Louis, Cody Bellinger drove in 3 runs. Paul Goldschmidt had 3 hits against his former team, and the Yankees beat the St. Louis Cardinals 8-4 for a series sweep. Up next for the Yanks, now just a half game back of the Red Sox for second place in the division and 3.5 games up on Cleveland for the third and final AL wildcard spot and off day today as well before heading to Tampa to open up a 3-game series against the division rival Rays tomorrow night. That is your sports, Noam, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 520. Let's go over to the Middle East, out to Israel. Protesters there taking part in a nationwide strike yesterday to demand a deal that would result in a ceasefire with Hamas and the release of hostages who remain in Gaza. I should point out, Sunday, the work week in Israel is Sunday to Thursday, right? Saturday and Friday and Saturday are the days off. So yesterday's strike stopped workplaces. In fact, workplaces gave people the option to leave work to take part in this strike. Police responded to the demonstrations yesterday by blasting crowds with water cannons and making dozens of arrests. Meanwhile, the State Department here is stopping approval of visitor visas for people from Gaza.
State Department officials said Saturday it was conducting a full and thorough review of the visa process, specifically for people seeking temporary medical visas. The department has allowed a small number of Gazans to travel to the U.S. for medical attention since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in October of 2023. The announcement came just one day after pro-Trump activist Laura Loomer criticized the visa program in a post on X. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
More Republican-led states sending National Guard troops now to the nation's capital.
The governors of Ohio and South Carolina are sending a combined 350 soldiers to Washington. This comes after West Virginia's governor announced he was sending over 300 troops to D.C. President Trump claims Washington is experiencing a crime and homelessness emergency. I'm Lisa Carton.
521 out to California, where state lawmakers there return today will be reviewing a proposed map of new congressional districts. 5 California Republicans are targeted by the plan, including Congressman Kevin Kiley, who says voters have made it clear they don't want to go backwards.
A poll yesterday showed that overwhelmingly Democrats, Republicans, and independents favor keeping the Independent Citizens Commission in place, and they oppose the governor's plan.
The new map is in response to Texas Republicans attempting to redraw congressional districts so they can add 5 Republican seats in the Lone Star State.
The voters of California have voted to establish an independent redistricting commission that's comprised of ordinary citizens who draw the map for congressional districts at the beginning of each decade after the census, and they do it in a nonpartisan way. So our voters intentionally took the power to do this away from politicians and put it in the hands of nonpartisan citizens.
Congressman Kiley there says he's confident whatever happens, he will be reelected. And then over the weekend, they had these Fight the Trump Takeover protests that took place all across the country about redistricting plans in Texas. One of the people taking part, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's from Texas.
Far too often in my party, the focus has been on being right, coloring within the lines, playing by the rules, and that may have worked for another time, but at this moment, we have to be ruthlessly focused on power, on stopping the power grab in Texas, winning power in our own right, and then using that power to deliver for our fellow Americans.
And those Texas House Democrats who left the Lone Star State so no vote could be taken on redistricting, they're returning today. And I don't know exactly what that means. We'll watch it all play out, of course. 523. Dollar General recalling 3 lots of its 8-ounce Clover Valley instant coffee due to possible glass contamination.
Dollar General is recalling 3 lots of its 8-ounce Clover Valley instant coffee due to possible glass contamination. The FDA said the coffee was sold between July 9th and 21st in every U.S. state except Alaska and Hawaii. Consumers can contact Dollar General for a full refund by email or phone call. I'm Lisa Carton.
524, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., shutting down talk of a 2028 run for the White House.
In a post on X Friday, the Health and Human Services Secretary called the speculation, quote, a fat-out lie and distraction from his work under the Trump administration. He reaffirmed his focus on delivering the Make America Healthy Again agenda. This comes after conservative influencer Laura Loomer accused Kennedy and aide Stephanie Speer of quietly planning a White House bid. Kennedy defended Speer and said the attacks are proof his team is making an impact. I'm Jim Forbes.
524, a climber recovering today after 2 days trapped behind a waterfall in California's Sequoia National Forest.
Officials say 46-year-old Ryan Wardwell was rappelling in a hiking area called the Seven Teacups in Sequoia National Forest last Sunday when the force of the water pushed him into a cave behind the waterfall. When he didn't return from the solo trip, a search was mounted. Drone-equipped aircraft finally spotted him during aerial searches. A CHP helicopter hoisted him out. He was treated for minor injuries. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Down to Texas, this is kind of cool. There are new plans to combat this invasive insect called the screwworm fly, which has been deadly to livestock. The Agricultural Secretary, Brooke Rollins, says they're fighting back with sterile flies, which can stop the reproductive cycle.
USDA will invest and build a domestic sterile fly production facility in Edinburgh, Texas, which is situated about 20 miles from the southern border.
The U.S. closed its southern border to livestock imports this summer after that screwworm advanced farther north into Mexico. The infestation is also linked to at least one death south of the border. The AG secretary says these sterile flies, which are produced at a facility, breed with the screwworm fly and then stop it from reproducing, which is, how do they even figure that out? But that's cool.
It's a tactical move that ensures we are prepared and not just reactive, which is to date what we have really been working through.
Yeah, that's one way to fight it. While we're down in Texas, a federal judge there hearing arguments in a lawsuit over Texas's new 10 Commandments law. Jonathan Sands is with the group called Texas Values, says there's plenty of legal precedent as why the Bible verse can be hung in public school classrooms.
The 10 Commandments are shown in the U.S. Supreme Court. So if it's good enough to be in the court,
it's good enough to be in the classroom.
Now, the reason it's in court is law being challenged by the ACLU, which argues that it violates the separation of church and state. It goes into effect next month, but posters of 10 Commandments are already being posted in several Texas school districts.
It's about the historical significance of the 10 Commandments to our law and policy and culture. And the Supreme Court's already acknowledged that many times. They've tried to convince people that there's no connection to our faith and God and the 10 Commandments and law and policy in the United States, and it's just not true.
That battle continues, though. The judge will have to make a decision there.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, August 18th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Just a beautiful day. Beautiful couple days on the way. Sun and clouds today, high 76. Tonight, overnight, partly cloudy, low 66. And then Tuesday, kind of the same forecast. Sunshine, high 77. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 62, partly cloudy in Muncie up in Rockland County. 68 and partly cloudy in Westfield over in New Jersey. And it's 67 and partly cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:38. The water is back on, but it's very low pressure and it's unsafe to drink without boiling. Boy, it's fun to be somebody who lives in Haledon, New Jersey. Here we are, day 11 after that water main broke in Patterson, not last Friday, but the Friday before. They've been without water almost the entire time. It came back on over the weekend, but the pressure is so low that people can't even do a whole lot with it. Like you can't take a shower or clean anything, and then you can't drink it. So neighbors are like, what?
The concern is, how long is this going to go on?
No. We had water, but the pressure was so little that showering was terrible.
Yeah, it's outrageous at this point. Cars drove up to the local rec center in Haledon over the weekend where they were giving out free bottled water. It is only for Haledon residents, but it's just been real miserable for them.
Thursday, the water came on. Friday was clear. I thought it was going to be good to drink, brush your teeth, but now they're said don't do it.
Yeah, so that boil water advisory remains in effect. That's assuming you even have real water coming out of your faucet. The mayor in Haledon, Michael Johnson, is preparing as if the water emergency will not end this week.
Everybody might want to wash their cars or, water their lawns. We can't do that because we're not there just yet. Our businesses just in town just received word that they're able to go back to somewhat business as usual. You still have to boil the water.
I was talking with Lizzie Radabali on her news hour over the weekend. By the way, if you didn't know that, she does one at 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And we were discussing whether this is just complete incompetence on the part of the water company or if this is really only because this 140-year-old main that broke open is just tough to repair. But either way, can you imagine going through more than 10 days of having no water? I'd be outraged. 5:40. Well, this is outrageous. A weekend mass shooting in Brooklyn, leaving 3 dead. 8 others injured.
It happened around 3:30 Sunday morning in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, at a lounge called Taste of the City. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch gave some details on the victims.
Officers arrived within minutes of the first 911 calls and found numerous gunshot victims inside of the location. Currently, we have identified 11 victims ranging in age from 27 to 61, 8 males and 3 females.
3 of those men were pronounced dead. Apparently, a dispute inside the club led to the violence. Cops are reviewing CCTV footage to try and identify the multiple suspects tied to the case. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
5:41. Let's go out to Long Island, where a strike on the LIRR could just be weeks away following a breakdown in contract negotiations between the agency and 5 unions that represent the workers. In a letter dated over the weekend, it says union leaders wrote to the National Mediation Board and indicated the LIRR and unions were unable to reach a voluntary settlement. It's money and health plan issues. So they say this triggers this mandatory 30-day cooling off period. That is going to come to a close soon. So they're saying maybe, just maybe, they will walk off the job, which of course would leave tens of thousands of commuters in limbo. You'll remember the same thing happened in New Jersey just a month back with New Jersey Transit. Thankfully, they were able to resolve it after a couple days off. But here we are with the LIRR, the same thing. And here's the head of Passengers United, which is a passenger advocacy group, saying, no, you can't do this. Work something out before you walk off the job.
We don't want the workers to go on strike. That's not good for anyone. So we feel that the train engineers, the union, and the MTA should work out a proper collective bargaining agreement that benefits everyone.
LIRR sending us a statement over the weekend that they don't want to strike either. They're going to work to do anything they can to prevent that from happening. 542 from Long Island over to Westchester, where police confirming a woman was discovered dead inside her vehicle yesterday morning on the Cross County Parkway. They made the discovery. This was about 8 a.m. right before exit 7, which is that Broad Street exit going eastbound on the Parkway. Here was police who arrived at the scene.
There was some kind of criminal activity that had taken place as we noticed some fresh damage on a fairly new car. Further investigation revealed that there was a female passenger inside that was determined to be deceased.
Now, what Westchester County Police are telling us is that there's a reason to believe that this woman was targeted. They do not think anybody else is in jeopardy or in any kind of danger. The investigation, of course, preliminary, as they think this woman, well, at this point, I think they know that she was a victim of gun violence. Now they're trying to figure out whether it took place there or somewhere else. Police still working on all of it.
She was a couple hours overdue. From what we understand, again, we're still trying to gather a lot of facts from her recent activity leading up to this point. So relatively soon after we discovered the vehicle, that the crime took place a short time before.
Yeah, police, again, saying no threat to the local community, which suggests they may know more about this than they're letting on. Of course, as more details come in on that shooting, we'll pass that on to you. 544, human cases of West Nile virus continue to rise. There's been an increase in mosquitoes becoming infected across the tri-state. Scientists confirming the infected insects are rampant, as they normally are in August and September, but they say this is a little bit worse this year than in past years. So I guess the things to look out for, like a fever, head and body aches, a stiff neck, those are all signs of West Nile. And the other thing is to sort of clear out any pools of water, any kind of pool water in your backyard, front yard, that kind of thing.
Making sure that you have no standing water around your house, because mosquitoes can breed in a space as small as a bottle cap.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know it was that small. Most recently, mosquitoes in Greenwood Lake, New York, Bridgeport, Connecticut, tested positive. Scientists recommending getting rid of any stagnant water because it is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. And as you heard from that scientist, even a bottle cap of water is enough for them to reproduce them. 545. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We will start here at MetLife Stadium Saturday night. Jackson Dart shined in his new home stadium debut for the Giants, getting snaps with the first-team offense and throwing for a touchdown and running for another with the backups as part of a 31-12 victory against the Jets on Saturday night in each team's second preseason game. The rookie first-round pick, whom the Giants envision as their long-term franchise QB, got a chance to show a little bit of how he could contribute in the near future by subbing in for starter Russell Wilson mid-drive and connecting with Theo Johnson on a 30-yard pass. Dart capped a 71-yard second-half opening drive with a TD throw to Greg Dulcich and scored on a goal line sneak to finish another after completing 13 consecutive passes. He was 14 of 16 for 137 yards, delivering on the hype under the lights at MetLife before giving way to Jameis Winston. Wide receiver Malik Neighbors was held out of Saturday night's win with what multiple sources have called a minor back problem. He has missed each of the Giants' first two preseason games. The Giants have only one full practice this week, and it's scheduled for tomorrow. They will have a walkthrough today and play their final preseason game Thursday night at MetLife Stadium against the New England Patriots. So, although Neighbors could be back soon, it might not be this week, given the tight schedule and quick turnaround, might not see him until week 1. And the Giants, while the Giants did get clicking, I should say, questions remain on offense for Justin Fields and the Jets. He left after two run-heavy series, 1 of 5 for 4 yards, with Nick Folk's 38-yard field goal, the only points the starters got on the board. Fields and the Jets' passing offense have mostly struggled to produce consistently in training camp, but head coach Aaron Glenn has insisted that Fields is developing nicely and doing all that has been asked of him. Head to the Diamond now in Williamsport. Mark Vientos hit a 3-run homer to the delight of hundreds of cheering 12-year-olds and sent the Mets to a 7-3 win over the Seattle Mariners in the Major League Baseball Little League Classic. Seattle catcher Cal Raleigh boosted his Major League home run lead with his 47th of the season. In the 7th, Vientos hit a sac fly off Mariners starter George Kirby in a 3-run second. He hit his 8th homer of the year in the 5th to make it 6-1. Francisco Lindor added an RBI double later in the inning. Clay Holmes allowed 1 run in 5 innings for the win. The Mets failed to blow a lead for just the second time in the last 9 games, taking 2 of 3 from Seattle over the weekend. Up next for the Mets, still 5 games back of Philly for first place in the division, and a game and a half up on Cincy for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. An off day today before opening up a 3-game series at Washington tomorrow night. Then in St. Louis, Cody Bellinger drove in 3. Paul Goldschmidt had 3 hits against his former team, and the Yankees beat the St. Louis Cardinals 8-4 for a series sweep there. Up next for the Yanks, now just a half game back of the Red Sox for second place in the division, and 3.5 games up on Cleveland for the 3rd and final AL wildcard spot. An off day today as well before heading to Tampa to open up a 3-game series against the division rival Rays tomorrow night. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. We are getting reports of lifeguards making all kinds of saves over the weekend from these rip currents. Still continues to be an issue. Apparently not as bad as it was the last couple weeks, but the lifeguards were in the water. The incidents, of course, come after a number of people drowned down Belmar, Seaside Heights. So lifeguards were closely monitoring the water, looking for churning water, different colored water, breaks and waves all weekend, just a sign of rip current activity. Joe Giovanni is the Asbury Park Patrol Supervisor. He's in charge of the lifeguards there.
People in waist-deep water, that set comes in, and all of a sudden they're in either chest-deep or higher water. They lose contact with the bottom, and if you're not a good swimmer, that rip current's going to pull you right out.
Now, Hurricane Aaron, it's not expected to make landfall. However, it will create dangerous surf mid to late week.
These kids are highly trained. They're in shape.
He's talking about the lifeguards, of course.
And they have the proper equipment and the proper training to know what to do. Don't go in the water when lifeguards are not on duty or on beaches that are unguarded. Like I said, you're playing Russian roulette here with your life.
Yeah, he's right about that. 5:51. City Bike preparing to crack down now on underage riders.
Lyft, the ride-sharing company that runs City Bike, says riders will soon be required to verify that they're at least 16. Gothamist reports that in a letter to the company last week, First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro suggested that proof of a driver's license or learner's permit be used to verify riders' ages. Lyft says implementing age verification will be complex and will include steps to protect user privacy. The process is expected to take around 3 months. I'm Larry Kofsky, NBC News Radio.
Let's go out to the mayoral campaign trail, hoping to boost his sagging poll numbers in his re-election campaign. Mayor Adams all over the place on New York 1. He revealed that he wants to add drug addicts to the list of people that medical professionals can involuntarily commit to hospital care. He was talking about that over the weekend. Also talking about how he's trying to boost those sagging poll numbers.
You do not say you're going to govern right-leaning or left-leaning. You govern the people of the city. I think when you look at 2021, when I campaigned, I was able to build those coalitions. That's how I won. I became the mayor because I built coalitions with all groups.
Mayor Adams telling New York 1 that he's a track record of stitching together a diverse group of New Yorkers.
I think there's always a coalition of people in this city that they care about quality of life issues, and they want to have a place where they can raise their children and families.
Over the weekend, Zohran Mamdani welcoming new support from Queens Democratic Borough President Donovan Richards. He had backed Adams in 2021, not this time around.
Now is not the time for us to sit on the fence. People don't care about if you're a Democrat or Republican when you need your potholes filled.
Yeah, and then over the weekend, it was interesting. Anthony Weiner was on Cats Roundtable on Sunday morning, and he was saying that Democrats need to swallow hard and eventually endorse Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani for mayor.
The fact of the matter is that both parties, Democrat and Republican, are changing right before our eyes. In the Republican Party, if you do anything to depart from Donald Trump's conventions, you're probably not going to win a primary. And nowadays, the left is ascendant in the Democratic Party.
And he was saying Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, he thinks they'll eventually back Mamdani.
I think at the end of the day, people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they're going to have to endorse the nominee of their party. I think it's inevitable. We only have one set of rules for this stuff, and that is we have a Democratic primary, and the guy that wins is the Democratic nominee. Yes, some people that can stay on the sidelines, and I think you're going to see a lot of people do that. But the leader leaders of the party, which is what Chuck and Hakeem are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. They've got the Democratic Party, who's now chosen their nominee, and they've got their candidates. The reason Chuck and Hakeem have been so slow to endorse Zoran is because they don't want to help. They don't want to harm, rather, their moderate candidates all around the country, which are the ones they need to take back the House and Senate.
Anthony Weiner on the Cats Roundtable. And New Yorkers fighting the opening of massive battery energy plants in their neighborhoods now have a powerful ally in U.S. Environmental Protection Administrator Lee Zeldin, of course, the former congressman. He's going to hold a press conference in Hauppauge today to discuss environmental safety issues posed by these battery energy storage systems. And Republican Curtis Sliwa will be part of that presser because, of course, some of these battery storage systems are right across the border from Long Island in Queens. 5:55. All you need to turn a fire hydrant into a water park is a traffic cone and a dream. That is what Aaron Rowland has found out as he's become this, I guess, social media superstar might be a good way to describe him. He set up this makeshift water park on West 188th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. And he calls it the Rio Manhattan. And there's these great videos of these kids. He set it up in the bike lane, and they just pour all kinds of water down the bike lane, and kids are like sort of surfing down and just getting wet. And so he says it's been really a fun summer. And he says all these people have gotten involved.
It's great. I don't have to go to the beach or pool. I just go downstairs, open up, and I got my own water park floating down the bike lane. And it was just like, and I kept uploading all these videos, and then people just kept giving me more ideas in the comment section. So that pushed me. That's what inspired me.
It's been fun to watch. Now, children from all over Washington Heights have been flocking to the stretch of the bike lane, which has been named Rio Manhattan. Videos continue to go viral in the recent weeks showing these kids using the street as a lazy river. And so popular it's become that now ice cream trucks have been showing up to this, makeshift water park. Local business owners have been donating food and floats for the kids so they can have a good time this summer.
Everybody loves this. Everybody wants to see this, and they want to see it grow. So we're all for it. The kids from the neighborhood, they see me when I go to the store, and they ask, are you going to open up the hydrant today? Is it going to be a water park? And sometimes I have to go to work. I have things to do, but I just can't say no to them.
Yes, so Rowland says he hopes Rio Manhattan will create a ripple effect and bring makeshift water parks to other neighborhoods across the city. You see these videos. We'll post them at WABCRadio.com. Pretty cool, actually.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.